I drive cars for a living, and the other day I got to drive this car. It's a Nissan R32 Skyline GT-R. You might know it as Godzilla. This one was imported from Japan to the US. It is very, very cool. But there's a lot more to this particular GT-R, like, for instance, the fact that it was owned by this guy, Hiroaki Nanahoshi, or Hiro for short. Hiro founded MotoRex, which was a company that legally imported Skylines from Japan to the US and converted them so that they were legal for US standards. Anyway, this was Hiro's personal R32 GT-R. Now, Hiro and MotoRex had a very brief but very bright moment in the sun. They successfully brought Skylines into the US and made them road legal before they turned 25 years old, which is the federal standard. To this day, it's still the only company that pulled this off. Several of the cars brought in by MotoRex were used in the earliest Fast and the Furious movies. And to make this all even crazier, Hiro was in his late 20s, somewhat early 30s during this whole time. Somewhat predictably, this all came crashing down. Within a couple of years, Hiro was facing multiple lawsuits, and there are tons of rumors and accusations out there about what Hiro actually did. But what is very clear in court documents is that a lot of owners felt that they weren't getting what they paid for, or they weren't getting any work done on their cars at all, and their cars just sat out there in the MotoRex parking lot. Facing multiple lawsuits, Hiro was quickly racking up debts and legal expenses. One of the ways he attempted to fix this was by giving this car, his personal car, to a friend in exchange for a loan and using the car as collateral. Now, reportedly, this friend later found out that Hiro also promised the title to this car to at least 2 other people in exchange for their own loans. He was a real stand-up guy, as you can see. Eventually, Hiro was charged with extortion and kidnapping, arrested on $1 million bail, and he fled the country. But that's a different story. Anyway, this car sat in storage for years. It was eventually purchased by an owner who already had an R33 Skyline GT-R, and they lived happily ever after. Except in 2009, a different company was raided for illegally importing Skylines. This set investigators on a rampage. They wanted to talk to anybody and everybody who might own Skyline GTRs. And the owner of Hiro's old car now had 2 of them. An Orange County task force seized both of these cars, even though they were imported by MotoRex and therefore federally legal. Here's a picture I took of where Hiro's R32 car had its US and California certification stickers. Yeah, authorities just ripped those right off. Anyway, that owner eventually got a judge to return both cars to him, but by then he was kind of over the whole thing. And that is how the car made its way to my friend Michael over here. Michael owns a shop that primarily works on Nissans and Datsuns, and he's been the caretaker of Hiro's R32 GT-R since the beginning of this year. It's in wonderful shape. It has a long list of very cool but very subtle modifications. And I got to drive it. This thing was an absolute kitty cat on the road. It was very forgiving, which is great because I needed a minute to get used to shifting with my left hand. Sorry about that, Michael. The best part about driving this car was going through turns at speed, because as you dip into the throttle more and more, it responds better. That's because of its super advanced all-wheel drive system for the time, which still works great. And while we were doing that, it was hard to believe I was actually driving Hiro's personal car and an important piece of MotoRex history. Huge thank you to Michael for the hospitality and the opportunity, which was truly once in a lifetime. If you want to learn more about the controversial history of MotoRex and the Skyline GT-R, check out my new book, Cult of GT-R, which is available right now for pre-order. And don't worry, there are plenty more crazy Skyline GT-R stories out there that are in the book, which I'll be posting about soon. Have fun out there and don't get seized.